Welcome to Automate, Delegate, Eliminate, where we discuss e-commerce issues and whether our guests today automated, delegated, or eliminated them, and why. Your host is Will Christensen, co-founder of Data Automation. And again, welcome to Automate, Delegate, Eliminate.
Welcome, everyone, to Automate, Delegate, Eliminate. We are very excited. I'm your host, Will Christensen. This podcast is provided to you by Data Automation. This is our second season, so if you had a chance to listen to the first episode, you know this already. But what we're doing is we're actually interviewing the founders of SaaS companies that have made an impact on the world in terms of automation or delegation or elimination. And today we have a SaaS founder who's made an amazing impact on automation. And I'm not going to spoil it, tell you exactly what he's created or what his software does, because he's going to tell us a little bit more about that in a minute. I'd like to welcome Ashik Wani to our podcast today. Ashik is a customer-driven technology evangelist with executive-level experience identifying and implementing enabling technologies that facilitate business process and strategic objectives. He is the founder of DocAcquire, a SaaS platform which enables businesses to automate document-centric business processes. So obviously you've got a little teaser there, but we would like to welcome Ashik to the show.
Hi, Will. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so Ashik, thank you again for being here. Ashik and I met as we were doing some integration and partnership work at Data Automation, and he and I are working on building some integrations and looking at different things that we might be able to do with his company. I'm going to be using his software a little bit. I'm very, very excited about it because it eliminates a pain point that I see often in the world today. So Ashik, tell us, what does your software do?
Well, in simple terms, I would say our main purpose is to help businesses to automate any back office document-centric business process. So it's like a very generic, sentence we normally use, but being very specific. If I give you an example of processing invoices, think about a business. A business processes around, suppose 3,000 invoices a month. So that's a very painstaking process. It involves a lot of manual hard work, and as you know, whenever there is manual intervention involved, you end up with errors. So we have two SaaS products, and what we do is we help these businesses to take these manual processes and give them the technology so that they can automate these processes. And the use case, there are tons of use cases. These we can get these from customers from. So such as I said already, invoice processing, and we got customers, they use our technology for insurance claims processing, and then we got other customers using it for tons and tons of use cases. So there's a huge market out there. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to be, very specific, do less and do it beautifully.
Beautiful, beautiful. So what would you say is the thing that makes this software different from competitors out there, other document parsing softwares? What is it that really makes you shine?
So what we have seen, it goes back to the history when I went into this journey. So we saw a number of products out there, and these products were very clumsy, very expensive, and extremely difficult to adopt, and big commitments. We have come up with a different approach of making this product available, building it such a way so that businesses of any size, whether it's a small business, medium, or enterprise, making it easier for them to adopt this technology. So that's what we come in as a startup. And also in terms of usage, as I said, the products which are out there, they're extremely difficult to configure. We have tried a number of different products out there during our research, and we found these products are extremely difficult to configure in the first place so that you can see the return on investment. But what we're trying to do, we're trying to build the platform in such a way so that that initial user journey is seamless, so that you don't have to spend tons and tons of resources in terms of time and money before you see the return.
Interesting. So as you picked apart that process, But I'd like to understand a little bit more about your personal origin story. Were you part of another company when DocAcquire became, the thing that you were working on? What did that look like?
So it goes back 5 years ago. So my background is I'm a technical. So I've been a software developer. Then I got into different high-level, leadership positions like technical architect, head of engineering. So I used to work for an insurance company here in London, and the aim of this company was to digitize their paper-centric underwriting process, which involves handling and processing tons and tons of contracts. So the aim was to take these paper documents and convert these paper documents into a digital format. And if we do that, that was amazing. And we spent nearly 5 years to kind of look into this whole, a wider process which these insurance underwriters use. And we'll build a platform and a scanning software which converts these paper documents and automates all this process and finally posts this digital PDF document into their data document management system. So that was amazing. That was wow. But that got me thinking, well, it's great. It's a good start converting a paper document into digital, which is great. But how about the information which is inside that document? That's where the value is. And that kept, got me thinking, hey, there's something has to be done about it. And I started doing my own research on and off. And I spent 3 years in this research and I built a first proof of concept, a small proof of concept, and then I have a good network here in London and outside London as well. I started taking it in front of them and getting their feedback. What do they think? Am I wasting my time, or is this something I should pursue to spend more time? And finally, getting to the end, I basically took 3 pivots in 3 years while working full-time job and also working on this, I call it minimum viable product. So I polished it and took, as I said, 3 pivots. And finally, I realized, yes, this is going to be a product market fit because, yeah, this was a genuine problem. And yeah, that's when it started. I went full-time into DocAcquire.
So you tell me about that. Okay, so this is the moment where the roller coaster has been going up and up and up, and the higher you go, the more time you invest, the scarier the drop is going to be on the other side, right? You're going up the roller coaster, up the roller coaster. You look down and you realize I'm going to have to take a jump on the other side. I'm going to have to leave my safety and my security of my job, of the other things that were out there, and start something new. What was that like? Were you in a very safe and secure position? A lot of times I hear that founders, they got fired right before they started something. Tell us about that. What happened?
So the moment I started, I went full time, into this business. The first thing I did, I had a chat with my wife. I was like, "See, I'm going to go into this journey. What are your thoughts?" And I think she's been always very supportive to me. If I go back to my full time job, what I was doing in London, I was a full contractor. So contractors make good money in London when you get the day rate. So financially, I was well established. I was absolutely fine, and I was enjoying my life. I didn't have to work that hard. But this is another part, another side of the story where I went into this journey. This is the reason like why I went to this journey. It's about, okay, well, I'm gonna have this life. I'm gonna make money in London. It's a really very good contracting job, paying me good money. But what I'm gonna give back to the society where I'm from. So basically, I'm from Kashmir, which is a northern part of India, and there is so much waste of talent there. And then that got me thinking, okay, well, how can I help my community, right? How can I give back? And I had this passion as well. How can I build a technology which will change people's lives, right? So then I went into this journey and I took this leap of faith and I went in. And the first year was mostly it was crazy. I would say I was building something today. It was purely engineering. I was not putting any effort on sales and marketing and things like that. I'll cover that a bit later, what we should do.
So I want to highlight something you said there. You mentioned your wife, and many of us have partners who come in, and my wife in a similar place. There is a special pedestal that I put my wife on, and I say this woman is so amazing for the support that you mentioned. Like I mean, just I can imagine that this is a little bit like you're driving a car, you're driving the roller coaster, you know it's going to the top, and you know you're going to take the leap on the other side because you see all the benefit for helping your countrymen and for helping the world eliminate some of this wasted effort and talent. That's why I got into automation, by the way. So we share a similar vision. I want to take the world's creativity that they're currently wasting on manual tasks and give it back. And so you know what you're doing. You're driving up, you're driving up. She's a passenger. She doesn't have a hand on the steering wheel, right?
Absolutely.
She's got to put a hand on your shoulder and be like, "We're going to do this," right? And it's so powerful to have someone there to support you. So, for those of you who are listening who are founders, shout out to your wives, your partners. For those of you who are listening who aren't founders, call up your founder and thank his wife. Like I'm dead serious. If you can get in contact with her and shoot her a message or him a message, there are obviously a lot of amazing female founders out there as well. But thank the spouses, the partners of those who are jumping into this journey, because they're totally there, and they put a lot out there on the line to make this happen. So you mentioned taking this leap and realizing that life's probably not going to be the same. I'm going to have to work a lot harder than I was, and the risk reward, I mean, maybe it'll be there, maybe it won't. And you decided to jump in. So at that point, did you file like resignation, or did you try to keep your other contract going a little bit at the time to try to keep both boats afloat? What was that transition like?
So that's a good question. So just before I jumped into DocAcquire, I was working for a SaaS company in London. It's a health and safety company in London, and I was head of engineering there, looking after their whole IT. So I basically worked there for 1 year as a in the contracting agreement in that arrangement. But I mean, I still have a very good relationship with the CEO of that company, Rosalind Benjamin, I mentioned. So I completely transformed her business. But before I started there, I made it very clear to her, said, look, Rosalind, I'm going to work for you 1 year. I will try my best to help you. And I know, how we can take your platform to the next level, how we can please your customers. And once the 1 year was over, and we got on the same page, and she did let me go, but it was mostly as I said, it was a contractual agreement, 1 year. And yeah, so Rosalind Benjamin, she has also advised me on the business as well, how you can basically, because she's got nearly, I think, 25 years experience as an entrepreneur. She's got like 3 or 4 businesses which she is running in London. So that's when I gave up my full-time contracting role as a head of engineering, and I jumped into DocAcquire.
Okay. And you made that leap, you jumped in there. You mentioned before, so bringing us back to the story where you were giving us, you mentioned that at that point you were going to move forward and it was all engineering. What did that look like? How did you make the transformation to get some of the marketing pieces and other things that need to be in any startup to get it to the point where you took that product market fit and actually capitalized on it?
Yeah, so the moment I jumped full time into DocAcquire, 3 years before that, I was like on and off, and I think I had enough time to do the research. So it was mostly R&D, research and development, and looking at the competitors, looking at the players which are already in the market, looking at their strengths and their weaknesses, and pick up how I can be different, if I will be a new player in the market. What can I offer to the existing audience? So when I started as a full time, and the first thing I did, I registered my company here in England, and that's where it started. So I took this minimal viable product, which was very tiny. It It was not polished. It was very basic. It was not meant for the actual customers. It was just to prove my idea, whether it's makes sense or not. So took it to the full scale, and what I did was so I basically started looking, building a team in India, an engineering team in India, but that was taking a lot of time to find the right people. Then what I did was I spent most of my time in basically building the product. So, so what I was trying to do is this was one of the mistakes which I want to highlight. So what I was trying to, I was trying to basically put everything in the product, whatever I was seeing there, I was just trying to bake it into there, factor into so many different features, which most of us have done in the past, right? And that took a lot of my time. And I also, when I hired the first developer back in, that time, and he used to build features, and he used to go crazy. I used to tell him, "Hey, can you build feature ABC?" And he used to be quite fast as well. And yeah, then we got to a stage where we started getting. So what I did was I put a website out there, and the moment I put the website, I did some basic SEO and started getting some traction in UK and in US. I think mostly in US, and that basically changed my my approach, what I should do, where I should focus on. And the focus was basically, as I said, we were trying to roll out many features just to please our customers, but we were not actually focusing on the core problem, which is the data extraction, right? How we gonna make it seamless? So that's where we're not focusing. We were focusing on secondary features, not the core feature.
Gotcha. So you started to figure out, okay, because that's a big part of building a SaaS company is deciding, okay, where is their feature creep? Where should I be focusing on? How much do I build versus how much do I market? That balance is actually, super, super key in the process of getting this thing off the ground. Yeah, totally, totally on the same page as you. So, what other difficulties did you face when starting the company that you'd like to share with the listeners, and what did it look like to overcome them?
So one of the things I want to highlight here was, I think right from the beginning, I think there is a good and bad sides of it as well. I started making partnerships with some good companies out there. And most of them have been, I can see the benefits now later on in the journey. We spent a lot of time to please these, our technology partners, business partners. And that basically took a lot of time because we were building proof of concepts and so much of documentation. I mean, we were not actually focusing too much on the product itself and the marketing, as I mentioned earlier. So I was not focusing too much on marketing, that time, and try to sell before we start building a bigger, a decent product. So in terms of issues I faced. First of all, I'm still a solo founder, and I started journey on my own, and I bootstrapped the company. I didn't got any investment. Still, we haven't got any investment yet, and we are getting a huge interest on investment, but we are not taking any investment at this stage.
What made you decide not to take investors? Because I'm sure you had a network. You could have reached out to people and gotten things going farther, faster. What made you decide to wait on the investors front?
So as you might know, I mean, raising investment is a full-time job. It takes tons and tons of effort to reach out, to build a relationship with investors, with the right investors, because some of them may waste your time, right? And for me, as I said, I was just alone in this journey. I didn't want to waste time in that on that side, because for me, I had savings actually, which I had earned in the past. So I had really good savings, and I knew what my runway is going to be, how long it's going to take me before I won't have any cash, right? So I had that in mind because I already did those budgets and everything. So what I wanted to focus on the actual product.
So let's say that I'm at a company similar to you, head of engineering. or I'm a product manager or whatever else, how much savings would you recommend? You don't need to tell me how much you had, but how much savings would you recommend I have in the bank before I venture forth on creating my own thing? Because it sounds like, I mean, when you say I bootstrapped it, I pushed it forward, I created my runway. If random Joe off the street comes up and says, "Hey, I'm a product manager. How much savings should I have before I try to launch my idea?" What would you recommend? How much would you recommend having in the bank?
So if you are thinking, not to raise any money for 2 years, considering, you don't have any other financial commitments, you don't have a mortgage to pay monthly, and you're very careful on your spending, right? Spending habits. Again, it depends on what the product you are building. If you are building a small, a consumer-based an app, that may take less time. But I'll talk specifically about if you're building a B2B SaaS platform, because we have a platform and it's quite it takes time to get to a point where it's more commercial. So I would say for 2 years, have I don't know, probably $100 to $150,000 in your bank account. That will take you your runway, for 2 years.
Okay. And when you're considering that runway, you're considering that investment level to have in your bank account, I would actually say a similar number. If someone had just come up off the street for me, like, how much do you need? I would give a similar number. Are you including, having to bring somebody else in to help you with the piece that you're not good at? Or would you say that that's just to pay yourself? So like if you're in a development position and you're a developer, that's kind of what you need in the back to kind of pay your expenses while you build it? Or is that enough that you can bring someone else in and pay them as well? Or do you feel like that's where you have to start generating some revenue to bring in other people? What's that look like?
In my case, it was I didn't pay a penny to myself for the first year, nothing at all. So it was basically bringing the engineers and hiring the consultants and pay them the day rate, and also running paying to there are all sorts of costs you have to pay, your infrastructure. In my case, I didn't put any investment on sales and marketing, because we were still trying to figure out what the problem is, and trying to build a product market fit. So we started actually, in my case, we started generating the revenue after a year when I went full time. So, but a very small revenue to start with. So that basically helped to pay some bills and the contractors back in India. I mean, in my case, again, my engineers, the whole team is based in India, so it's extremely cost effective. If I would have hired a team in the UK, then I don't think I would have been able to run the company for a month.
Got it. And when you mentioned that 70 to 150K that you got in the bank, did you separate that out and then you had other savings that you were living off of in the past, because you weren't paying yourself from the new company, you were having to survive somehow? How did you keep your family afloat?
So again, I had to look into my costs. So that was basically a separate kind of money I had. So this was just for the company, what I mentioned earlier. So I kept that separate. We did some maths. My wife, she's an accountant, management accountant. So she's got a very good eye on maths. And to be honest, she's done tons and tons of work for DocAcquire when it comes building the license model, financial model, and looking into cost savings, how we pay our suppliers. So that really helped me. I think my wife has been another co-founder, if you like it.
I don't think you can say you're a solo founder anymore. I think from now on you're gonna have to say that you founded this with your wife, because it sounds like she did some amazing things for you. Not to diminish what you've done by any means, but it sounds like she was very involved. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's say that I'm a new college grad and I'm coming to you and I'm asking you about the early days, and we've had this conversation. You've brought up a couple of concerns, things that that have been different and that have gotten better or whatever. Any other things that you'd like to highlight in terms of some of the early day struggles that other entrepreneurs might face?
So very good question. So I would say I think this is something I've been always this thing has been always proven true to me. Love the problem, not the product. Okay. So when we build something, we really get emotionally attached to it, right? And sometimes we don't take somebody's critics or the feedback. If somebody is gonna give you the feedback on what are you doing on your product, take it constructively. Okay, keep your ego aside and try to find the problem. I would say, spend a lot of time in doing research, right? What the problem is, okay? And start extremely small. Don't think about, hey, I have to build something big, shine it and put it in front of the customer, your potential customers, and just build very small and take it to in front of the audience and get the feedback, because that way, if you're lean, you can build a great an offering or a product.
Have you read The Lean Startup?
Absolutely.
Such a
So
such a beautiful book. Yeah, but when you were talking, I was like, this sounds like The Lean Startup, which is a book that talks a lot about software development. And a lot of our founders that we're interviewing are going to be SaaS founders, so it's going to apply line to line. But I've been amazed at how often that book applies to not just SaaS companies, but companies the world over when it comes to building that minimum viable product. Start lean. So what was your other point there? Sorry to interrupt.
So the other thing I was going to say, going into a business, becoming an entrepreneur, it's initially it looks like, okay, well, it's fine, I'll do it. I'm going to crack into it. Initially, it looks easy, but when you get into it, when you get into a situation where you don't have any earnings, you are spending tons and tons of, there is no limit how much of time you're spending, right? On your business, right? You can get stressful, times when you don't have any customer, you don't have any revenue, right? So, but have a have a faith on your, have a be confident on your vision, and have that vision, right? Where you want to be, keep that horizon in front of you. Say that's where I want to be, and when you have that, horizon in front of you or your destiny in front of you, there will be distractions coming left, right, and center. And it happened to me as well. I'll cover that later. And but be focused, right? Learn, but be very focused. And yeah, so time management is extremely important, critical. When you want to basically create your own business, be very disciplined. And I would say, when you get into this is very important thing when you start interacting with customers. So spend 95% of time listening to your customers rather than before you talk. Just listen to them. Keep listening.
Beautiful. Yeah, I couldn't agree more on the time management piece. One of the things that I've done is I've actually sectioned out my life. So between 7 a.m. MST and 3 p.m. MST, I am owned by data automation. Like data automation owns me as a person at that time, and my time is fully devoted. So I protect that time like a bulldog, right? Somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I want a half an hour of that," and if it isn't for data automation, I better have a darn good reason for putting something there that goes there. And so budgeting your time is, I totally agree, very important. And then budget time, I'm investing time in my family, so I have specific time frames at night where I will not take a phone call or talk to a client or anybody because I am investing in my family as a startup, right? My family startup, my two girls and my wife are the world to me. And so if I don't invest in that business, in that startup, it'll fail as well, just like your other business will fail. And then I have some precious hours that are kind of spread out in between there where I invest back in myself as a human being, in listening to books and in just enjoying fantasy books or enjoying, honestly, I play the Oculus Quest. It's a VR headset, and I'm a Jedi Knight most nights. So like, you've got to find specific time frames that you let yourself recharge and look at those things, or the whole thing falls apart. So couldn't agree more on that aspect. of time management. And then on the second thing you said, listening to your users. If you can't take, like you said, be humble, recognize what's there. It's so powerful to say, you know what, if your users are complaining about something, you've got to set your own idiosyncrasies, your own pride aside, and recognize that what they're telling you is real. So yeah, couldn't agree more about creating definitive lines of communication directly between you and your user to really build things out and get it where it's going.
Absolutely. And one of the things I want to cover here is it's related to, so it's not about you built a beautiful product in the world. Your product is amazing. So there is this thing, there is a saying, it's not what you sell, it's how you sell it, right? And this is something I have been reading a number of books on sales, enterprise sales, because as you know, enterprise sales and B2B sales they're quite complex, and the sales cycles are quite long, especially in our kind of offering where you can't just take this product, and it's not like a CRM system. You register in it and you start entering your clients or whatever, and then it's there, it's up and running. Because our product is you take it and then you glue it with the existing processes with other technologies as well, like robotic process automation or any other back office system using APIs, or there are tons of ways you can build these workflows. So, when it comes, this is something I have learned, and I can see the benefits coming out of it. So DocAcquire is being picked up by Oracle. I think it's been 1.5 years ago. Yeah. So we are part of Oracle's startup program, global startup program. I think there were, I think 5 or 6 startups they picked, and we were one of them. And one of the things Oracle provides us, they provide us skills, and they give us training on sales and marketing. They give us technology infrastructure as well, which helps our cash flow. So specifically to sales, what I learned, when you get into a sales call and when you interact with your customers, right, you should be selling the solution to them, not the product. This is something, it took me a while to understand what it is, what actually does it mean. So very specifically, what it means is when you get into a sales call or a demo, just understand customers' pain points, their problems, and understand that, and give them an insight, a different perspective. What are those opportunities in their business, and so that they can basically make more, increase their revenue, right, and slash the costs, right, and bring efficiency in their business. So rather than talking about your product, hey, I've got this product, it's got tons of really good features, ABC. Customer doesn't care. All customer cares about is he will tell you, okay, how can you solve my problem, right? And if you give those insights to the customer, and towards the end, there's definitely gonna be a sale.
So I love selling the solution. So I went to a sales class. I was part of an agency before I started data automation, where we did marketing, and they paid for the whole company that was interacting with customers to go to this sales class. And they talked about features versus benefits. And that's exactly what you're talking about. Sell the solution, not the product. So a feature of a product, just like you were saying, would be like, oh, DocAcquire is capable of handling X, Y, and Z, right? DocAcquire has this cool feature where it's easily configurable, right? But that's not the benefit. The benefit is the time that individual can then use to go spend on his family. Or the benefit would be the lack of errors that they're seeing in their accounting system to get there. So totally hear you. Sell that solution, sell those benefits, not the features, not the products. Because in the end, it's not about your features and your products. It's about the solution. What are you really bringing to the table to make those things change for you and your customer?
Absolutely. And try to get into the customer's, his situation, the situation he is in, and think about how you feel. Okay. And if you do that, if you change that the table, and you put yourself in his or her situation, then your attitude, the way your approach of selling will change. And I've interacted with so many different, customers, from different countries. Nowadays, customers they're very smart. They know what they're talking about. What I used to initially do, I used to have this slide. I used to have like 5 or 6 slides. I used to talk about the product. That was not effective. Then that kept me thinking, and I got this book. It was quite helpful for me. I'm still finishing it. It's called the Challenger Sale. How you can take control of conversation with the customer. So that has completely changed my perspective of how you sell your product and services.
Awesome. So I've got one more question here that relates to the early days, and then we're going to get to any piece of feedback or other advice you'd give to entrepreneurs as they're beginning their journey of creating something that either automates, delegates, or eliminates in the world, because obviously that's what we're covering on our podcast. But my question is, when you compare the early days of the company to now, what would you say the biggest differences are in what you're having to do? How big was the team then? How big is the team now? What's it look like?
So the earlier days where it was just myself, and of course my wife as well, helping me on and off. So that was from the team. Now we got a team based in India, and we also got partners in. They're mostly our resellers based in US and Ireland. And last week we made a partnership with one of the companies in Australia. Now, if I go back, when I started, I mean, the first year it was crazy, crazy in the sense today I was doing one thing and tomorrow I was doing something else. So I was not disciplined, right? I was just getting into every single thing. Now, after we went live, so we went live in July last year, and with the first product, the second product we went live in January. That's where we started getting the actual feedback. We started understanding what actually we try to polish our product more and more. Now I think things are becoming a bit easier now. It's still quite difficult, and I would expect first 3 years, when you launch a SaaS business, first 3 years they're difficult. Now I would say, yeah, in the first 2 years, just try to, generate the early revenue as much as you can, because not every single entrepreneur, whoever they want to start their business, they would have lumps of cash aside. So, because the cash is king. If you have cash in your bank, then only you can basically invest that into business and you can keep going. So if you don't have enough cash, if you don't have enough savings aside, I would say start think about the ways how you can bring that first customer on even if it's you building a very small offering. Just bring that first customer and start generating the revenue and bringing that initial early revenue.
Interesting. That's totally powerful in terms of where that goes. And it's crazy how things change. As we wrap up today, what final words of advice would you have for any of the listeners out there who may be entrepreneurs or maybe aspiring entrepreneurs or maybe just want to understand a little bit more about what it's like to live in the mind of a founder?
So I would say, if you look at currently from the last few years, there are thousands and thousands of startups which are popping up, every single month. I would say if you know there's a problem, right? I have seen a lot of people, what they do is they see a problem and they have got a solution and they keep that problem in their laptop. They don't take it out. They don't show it to anybody. So what I have learned is I may have a great idea about something. I probably know a problem and I have a solution for that problem. Just to know the solution for that problem and also build a solution for that problem, it's not enough, right? You got to believe in yourself. If you know that if you know have that gut feeling, yes, this is a problem, this is a solution. Don't think too much. Just jump into it and it's a journey and you will learn while you're on the journey. So you got to take that leap. Otherwise if you just keep talking about it, somebody else will come in and they can take an opportunity.
Take that leap of faith is what you're telling people, and listen to the customer. Take that leap, listen to the customer, sell the solution, not the product. We're going to end it there, folks. That is some amazing feedback from Ashik on starting a business and what it looks like to create an automation in the world that really is giving back the way that he wanted it to. And I'm excited to check in with you in a couple of years. Obviously, we're to check in sooner than that, but we'll probably do a second series of these podcasts in a year or two and just see where these businesses have gotten to since we've had these podcasts. So really excited that you're here and really appreciate your time today, Ashik. If our users are looking to reach out to you or they'd like some advice or they're looking to find DocAcquire and use this really powerful piece of automation, how can they find you? How can they connect?
So they can go to docacquire.com, and we are also listing on Twitter, and they can reach out. On us Twitter as well. So we got a hashtag DocAcquire simple, and I mean, if they want to reach out, directly, so they can reach out to ashik.wani@docacquire.com.
Awesome. So for everybody who's listening there, it's just, I'm going to spell it out for them. So it's ashik.wani, WANI @docacquire.com. Super excited that you were here on our show today. Thank you so much for sharing. I know we delved into some fairly personal or private things, but I think that the power that we can give to the world now that we've successfully founded some different things is to draw those other aspiring entrepreneurs out and help those people who have started businesses start them better. So can't thank you enough for joining the show today. And that's it for our episode of Automate, Delegate, Eliminate.
You've been listening to Automate, Delegate, Eliminate, hosted by Will Christensen.